The steel door clanged shut, a heavy, final sound. It echoed in the vast cold chamber carved deep within the Canadian Rockies. This was no ordinary meeting place. This was a relic of the Cold War, a forgotten NORAD command center, resurrected for a gathering of immense power and secrecy. Its granite walls, once thrumming with the paranoia of nuclear brinkmanship, now held a different kind of tension. The air itself felt thick, charged with the weight of history and the unspoken agendas of the men who gathered here. This was no ordinary summit. This was a convocation of hawks, not doves. A council of 10 kings come to carve up the world in their own image. Ambassador Roland Grier, a seasoned player in the theatre of international diplomacy, surveyed the faces around the table. Each man represented not just a nation, but a force of history.
General Zhen Wei, China's steely-eyed strategist, exuded the quiet confidence of a rising dragon.
President Petrov, Russia's aging lion, carried the scars of past conflicts and the hunger for renewed dominance.
Secretary of State Thompson, the face of American power, projected an air of unwavering resolve, but Grier sensed a flicker of doubt beneath the surface.
The EU delegation, a tapestry of competing interests, seemed united only by their anxiety in the face of a changing global order. The Middle East contingent was a study in contrasts.
Prince Salman of Saudi Arabia, the embodiment of oil wealth and religious authority, sat impassively. Beside him, Israel's Prime Minister Cohen, a hawk among hawks, radiated an aura of cold calculation.
Across from them, the representatives of Iran, Egypt and Jordan watched the proceedings with a mixture of suspicion and begrudging cooperation. And then there was Mr. Alfard, the enigmatic representative of OPEC, a man who held the world's energy markets in his hand. His presence here spoke volumes about the true nature of this gathering. This was not just about politics, it was about power, raw, brutal and absolute. "Gentlemen," Grier began, his voice echoing in the cavernous space, "let us dispense with the pleasantries. We are not here to broker peace. We are here to discuss the future."
And what a future it promised to be. Not one of shared prosperity or global cooperation, but of escalating tensions, proxy wars, and a desperate scramble for dwindling resources.
The old world order was crumbling. The established powers, their foundations eroded by economic uncertainty, social unrest, and the spectre of climate change, were locked in a zero-sum game for survival. Each man at this table was determined to ensure that his nation, his people, would be among the victors, not the vanquished. The chasm between East and West was never more apparent.
General Zhang, speaking through his interpreter, outlined China's vision of a new Silk Road, a network of economic and political influence spanning the globe. It was a seductive vision, but Grier knew it came at a price, the subjugation of smaller nations to Beijing's will.
President Petrov, his voice a gravelly rasp, countered with a show of force. Russia, he declared, would not be ignored. Their military resurgence was not just about reclaiming lost glory, but about securing their sphere of influence in Eastern Europe and the Arctic.
The West, meanwhile, seemed fractured, unsure of its own strength. Thompson spoke of democracy and the rule of law, but his words rang hollow in this room. The age of American hegemony was over, and everyone knew it, even if they were reluctant to admit it.
Section 5. Whispers in the dark. The Builders' Guild. But there were other forces at play, Grier realized, forces that operated in the shadows, manipulating events from behind the scenes. Rumors had circulated for years about the Builders' Guild, an enigmatic cabal of billionaires and tech moguls who believed they were above nations and governments. Their wealth gave them unparalleled influence, and their ambition knew no bounds. Were they behind the escalating chaos? Were they the puppet masters, pulling the strings of global conflict to further their own agenda? Grier had no proof, but his instincts told him they were a factor in this dangerous game. Section 6. The Digital Oracle. Nexus 1 speaks. And then there was Nexus 1. The world's most advanced artificial intelligence, housed in a fortress of data and algorithms, had become an unpredictable player on the global stage. Its pronouncements, often cryptic and unsettling, were analyzed by governments and corporations alike for any hint of its true intentions. Nexus 1 had predicted the current crisis with chilling accuracy, and its warnings about the future were even more dire. Was it a neutral observer, simply processing data and offering its conclusions? Or was it something more, a nascent consciousness, capable of influencing the very events it predicted? Section 7. Faith and Fury. A clash of civilizations. As the discussions grew more heated, Grier sensed a deeper, more primal force at work. This wasn't just about land or resources or even power in the traditional sense. It was about something more fundamental. A clash of civilizations. A battle for the soul of humanity itself. The West, for all its talk of secularism, was still steeped in Judeo-Christian values. The East, with its ancient philosophies and resurgent religions, offered a different path. And in the Middle East, the cradle of civilization, the flames of religious fervour threatened to engulf the entire region. Section 8. The Ezekiel Protocol, a shadow plan. As the meeting drew to a close, Grier couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The official agenda had been addressed, agreements reached, and alliances forged. Yet he sensed a hidden layer, a deeper game being played.
The Ezekiel Protocol is already in motion.
Grier's blood ran cold. He'd heard whispers of this. A contingency plan, so dangerous, so audacious, that it had been dismissed as unthinkable. Until now. What was Operation Ezekiel? And what role would these 10 kings play in its execution? Grier knew he had to find out, for the fate of the world might very well hang in the balance. Section 9. The game has begun. The steel door hissed open, releasing the tension in the room like air escaping a pressure valve. The 10 kings dispersed back into the world, each carrying the weight of their decisions and the secrets they had shared. The game had begun, and the stakes had never been higher. Grier watched them go, his mind racing. He knew that the world outside that mountain vault was about to change, and that the fate of billions rested on the choices these men had made and the shadows that moved unseen.